Hi everyone, and welcome to StudioJake. I, of course, am your host, Jacob Airy. I'm a blogger, movie review, nerd culture critic, all these kinds of things. I love everything about nerddom and fandom and everything in between. That's what I talk about. Now, be sure to subscribe to my channel, click the like button, share this video out, and ring that little bell because YouTube is doing this weird thing where they're curating your subscription feed. So you may not be able to see the video that I post right away unless you ring that bell, because then you get notifications when I do a live stream or a vlog or an episode like this. So do me a solid, like, subscribe, share, ring that bell, and welcome to StudioJake. Now, today I'm talking about this new phase that Marvel is getting into, Marvel Studios specifically. You see, now that the Infinity Saga is over, we're not really sure what direction the Marvel Studios is headed in. CEO Kevin Feige, they've been kind of cagey about future products. Ones keep getting like the Doctor Strange and Black Panther sequels, they keep getting put on hold. All this other crazy stuff is happening behind the scenes. One thing we know for sure, earlier this week it was announced that Kevin Feige is trying to recruit Keanu Reeves into the MCU, and I think it's fantastic. I'm going to talk about that today, plus give my top 10 MCU character ideas for Keanu Reeves. So sit back, relax, and welcome to StudioJake. Welcome back. So that's right, Keanu Reeves, who you might know as Neo from The Matrix, or if you're a rom-com connoisseur, of which I am not, you've seen him in The Lake House. And he's been, of course, famous for these John Wick films that have been coming out. These have kind of pushed him back. He was in Speed with Sandra Bullock. A ton of iconic films. And there's so many, I can't really name them all, but I actually think he would be perfect in a superhero movie setting. He's a pretty well-known actor. He's got a solid base. Yes, my hat does say the 90s called. Anyway, I really do like Keanu Reeves. I think he's a great actor. I think he's an underrated actor, and I was kind of sad when his career kind of fell by the wayside, but like these John Wick films have obviously revitalized him, and I'm very excited about that. I'm also excited because he, like I said earlier in my intro, he is joining the MCU, and I think that's great. Kevin Feige hasn't said for sure what role he plays. Apparently, they're trying to they're recruiting him, and they're going to make him fit into a role. There's been some rumors that he could play Norman Osborn in the upcoming Spider-Man film. I think that's kind of less likely. I don't really see him. He doesn't give off an Osborn vibe, but I don't think he would be good for that role. So that in mind, I'm not just here to say, oh, this rumor I don't think is right, or that rumor, or whatnot. I'm actually have an idea, a couple of ideas, 10 ideas specifically, on how Keanu Reeves could make an impact on the MCU. So, Kevin Feige, or any exec at Marvel Studios, if you're listening, I've got this great list of top 10 MCU characters for Keanu Reeves to play. Okay, so number 10, Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic himself. Marvel has been trying to get the first family of the Marvel comic universe, the Fantastic Four, back into the fold of Marvel Studios, and they finally succeeded with the merger with Fox Studios, which I'm a little hesitant about. I'm not really sure where the films can go, but they are looking to replace some of their properties now that Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans and some other actors, their contracts are expiring. Marvel wants to introduce the Fantastic Four. Peyton Reed, I know, has been pushing a script. Peyton Reed is a good director, good writer, but from what I've heard, I'm not really excited about the script. But I think it could see the light of day with Keanu Reeves as Mr. Fantastic. He could play this kind of fatherly, scientific role. We've seen him do these kinds of roles before, and I think that with Mr. Fantastic kind of has an underwhelming ability. He can elongate his body and stuff. But I think that's probably why they've had a lot of trouble casting him. But I think he has the range. He being Keanu Reeves has the range to play him. Don't go so far to the Professor like they did with the Fantastic Four films that had Chris Evans as Human Torch, but also don't go super young like they did with that awful reboot that should just be a Z movie. I mean, the Asylum might as well have made that film, but I think he could be just that middle person. Mr. Fantastic and the whole Fantastic Four at one time merged with the Avengers, but him being a scientist, he often clashed with Captain America. At the time, Iron Man wasn't a member. He had his own team. I believe this is the same time he had his own team called the Force Works, which is because he left the Avengers. And so Mr. Fantastic and Captain America would clash. Captain America, of course, being a soldier, Mr. Fantastic being a scientist, they'd often have arguments about strategy. Um, so I think he would be good depending on who they get to lead the Avengers, which, if they follow the comics, it'll probably be Black Panther, but I'm not really sure. All right, so number 9, we've got Nova, specifically the Richard Rider version. There's been several human Novas. Nova, as you of course know, the Nova Corps was introduced in Guardians of the Galaxy. They're an intergalactic space police force, and uh, Nova, who is named after the Corps, Richard Rider, they wear these mystical helmets that basically enhance their powers. And I could see, I believe I don't know if this is comic book or if I'm getting confused with Guardians of the Galaxy, the animated series. There's actually 5 of these, and it's really hard for someone to control them. It's kind of like the helmet of Naboo for Dr. Fate in the Justice League. Its personality kind of takes over, and Richard Rider was one of the first people to be able to relax that personality and take it over. It's also similar to the Blue Beetle. I'm not sure which character came first, actually. I feel bad for not knowing that. But I think he could do this as a guy who's torn between the intelligence of this helm he's wearing and also his own personality and being able to overcome it and say, hey, Helmet, let's work together, or Nova, let's work together, and then embodying that hero. I think it would be good to see that kind of role for him. Number 8, none other than Moon Knight. Keanu Reeves has often played kind of disgruntled dark figures. Moon Knight has 3 personalities. He's a DID, but they all know that they're Moon Knight. And one, I believe, is based on Wolverine, one is based on Spider-Man, and I think the other Daredevil. And they and sometimes he's just kind of portrayed as more schizophrenic than DID. It depends. It really depends on the writer. But he's this guy who he found this mystical cloak. He's an archaeologist who found a mystical cloak that gave him incredible powers. And they're very similar. They're basically a combination of Captain America, Spider-Man, and Daredevil, like those kind of abilities. He doesn't really have a whole lot outside of that. He's a very crucial character. He's been offered spots in the Avengers, but has often turned them down, mostly because the Avengers doesn't stand him. And I think that outsider character would be a really good fit for Keanu. Let's see them on number 7. Number 7 is Gambit. So there have been, of course, we saw Gambit in X-Men Origins Wolverine. It wasn't really that great personification of the character, and there's also been other movie scripts attached to Gambit, but nothing's really come to fruition. But I would like to see him play Gambit. I think he could pull it off. I think he's really good. He would have to learn a Cajun accent. That's an integral part of the character, and I think that he would be really good at it. Even more so than what's his name from? You know what? I'm gonna have to Google that. I actually can't remember the guy's. Can't remember the poor guy's name who played Gambit. Like, that's how forgettable his role was. I'm telling you, it was really not that impressive. Taylor Kitsch, which he is a fine actor, but he was not good as Wolverine. Sorry, he just wasn't to all you fanboys out there. I actually am not as hard on X-Men Origins Wolverine. To me, it was just kind of a generic action movie more than it was like a really good X-Men movie. Um, as for Channing Tatum's possible movie that never came to fruition, I wasn't really seeing that happen. I like Channing Tatum. I just did not think was he was right for Gambit. But, you know, that's just my opinion. All right, so number 6, we have Wonder Man. Now, Wonder Man is nothing like Wonder Woman. His name was ripped off of Wonder Woman. But he actually is made of pure energy. I can't remember what the energy is called, but um, he was originally a villain, and then he became a hero, and he can't really die, which is an interesting concept for his character. Every time he almost dies, basically what ends up happening is you find out it's just his cells, kind of like Mr. Sinister, where he can get blown apart, and then when his cells come back together, they can heal. That's kind of what happens to him. His name is Simon, but I can't remember his last name. But he was an enemy for the Avengers for a while. I believe he was part of the Masters of Evil, but he defected to the Avengers when he realized that they were all insane. So I think he would make a good. He being Keanu Reeves, I think he would make a good version of Wonder Man, that hero, that villain seeking redemption as a hero. All right, we are now in the top 5. So number 5, we've got Chamber. Now, Chamber is a unique mutant who his powers actually manifest from cheeks down through his chest. He exudes energy, and he can use that energy as a weapon. Originally, he was from Generation X. He was kind of a throughout the X-Men history, they've always introduced second generation mutant teams. So like X Factor, X Force, the New Mutants, I believe, was the first. The X-Statics, although they're not technically part of the X-Men, they are a group of mutants, and of course Generation X, which is where Jubilee, the character of Jubilee, got popular. Now, Chambers is from this group. I believe his character has a cameo in X-Men 3, The Last Stand, which we all want to forget that movie. But he can talk and everything, and it's just basically his powers that hold his body together. Because he has all this energy built up, it manifests through him from his mouth down. And I think that Keanu Reeves would be really good at that. He's really good at expressions, and a lot of the communication Chamber has to do is through expressions, because otherwise you wouldn't really tell, like, is he being deadpan? Is he telling a joke? Which I know sometimes the character uses that to his advantage, depending on the writer and the artist. But I really think he could be good at that. Now that the X-Men are back in the MCU, I think that now maybe some of you may agree that he's number 5. Like maybe he shouldn't be in the top 5. Maybe he should have been number 10. But I really think that Keanu Reeves could pull that off. Number 4. We've got U.S. Agent. So Johnny Walker, he was a super soldier. He's also known as Super Patriot in the Avengers. For a while, while Steve Rogers was under, the U.S. government had other people pose as Captain America, and Johnny Walker is one of them. There's a whole generational line of people who posed as Captain America. Johnny Walker was the 80s, and I believe the story is in the 90s and 2000s, they never really brought him back as a person being Captain America. I can't remember why Johnny Walker was fired, but he was at one point, and so Steve Rogers, and of course when Steve Rogers came back, they gave him, and it made Walker very jealous, and they had this big fighting showdown. But he took the name U.S. Agent, and like I said later, Super Patriot. With Chris Evans retired as Steve Rogers, I would like to see him come back as kind of a competition to Anthony Mackie's character of Falcon. Since, spoiler alert for Endgame, he got Anthony Mackie's character, Falcon, he got the shield from Rogers to become the next Captain America. So I think that would be a good kind of tense situation. Number 3, um, I like to. This is a villainous role, Doctor Doom. Why not? Why not have Doctor Doom as? Why not have him play Doctor Doom? He's one of the most miscasted characters. They did it wrong in the first Fantastic Four with under Fox. They definitely did it wrong in the second reboot. Doctor Doom needs to be cast by someone who's foreboding, and they can't find someone who's freaking foreboding. I would love to see Keanu Reeves do that. He has a way of kind of looking mean without meaning to be mean, and I think he could really pull that role off. He's the only villain on this list, mostly because I wanted to focus more on heroes now that the MCU is kind of resetting their heroes, but I think he would do good. All right, number 2, we've got Thunderstrike. Kevin Masterson is a human who was found worthy to lift the hammer of Thor, and he actually posed as Thor while the real one was missing or retired or maybe dead. I can't remember. They've gone through so many reboots. But he was given his own hammer in the form of Thunderstrike. And I really think that he would do good with this hammer. I think he would make a good version of that. He'd have to dye his hair blonde. It's already grown out, so he's good there. But I really think that he could do good in that role, be a good replacement for Thor, have that lightning power payback. Now, my number 1 pick, this might surprise you. He's not my first pick for this character. I'm just saying in the context of Keanu Reeves coming into Marvel Studios, coming into the MCU, Wolverine. Now, Scott Eastwood is still my first choice, but while we're talking about guys who are kind of gruff and look kind of gruff, he would have to shrink a little bit. Wolverine's supposed to be short and stocky, so he would have to shrink. But I could see him playing Wolverine if they just redid his hair again. But yeah, he could play Logan. He could be ferocious, but also caring. Kind of rough around the edges, but still having a big heart, willing to sacrifice himself because he knows he can get back up. I really think, I mean, since Hugh Jackman's retired, might as well. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you think. Anyway, those are my top 10 MCU characters for Keanu Reeves to play. Let me know what you think. Now, of course, if you disagree with these 10 characters, let me know in the comments below. Or if you just want to add your own, let me know who you think Keanu Reeves should play in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I always love to hear what my fellow fans are thinking. So thank you once again for watching. Like this video, subscribe, share it out, tell your friends about me. I love hearing what other fans are thinking. Follow me on my verified Twitter account. I got verified by Twitter. I'm so excited. That's at Real Jacob Airy, RealJacob Airy. Follow me there so you can be up on my thoughts. I do a little bit of political stuff there, but I mostly talk about pop culture and whatnot. Head over to my Instagram where I'm not verified. That's also at Real Jacob Airy. My Facebook is author Jacob Airy. And of course, head over to my blog, my daily blog, jacobairy.blog. Subscribe there so you get email notifications about everything that's going on. I try, like I said, this blog is weekly, sometimes semi-weekly, depending on if there's a holiday or whatnot. That is daily. I post every day with comic book reviews, graphic novel reviews, movie reviews. I like to do indie stuff all the time. So head over there and check it out. One last thing, get your copy of, it's on the side, get your copy of my novel. It's a fantasy novel, The Seven Royals, All Good Things. It's about Prince Jasher. He is, his homeland, along with 6 other fairy tale characters, their homelands get invaded by the evil Fabius Thorn. He's a grand mage for the Sorcerer Society and their dark army, and he's doing this on behalf of Emperor Midas. Yes, that Midas who can touch people and turn them into gold. And so Jasher has to unite with Belle, James, Rapunzel, Philip, Connor, and Talia, all of these fairy tale characters in order to go back to their homeland and save the day. So definitely pick up your copy. Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, BookLocker.com. It's available in paperback and in e-back format. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.